Good evening. Welcome everyone to the Conservation Commission's meeting today, Wednesday, the 28th of January, 2026. We have a full complement of commissioners in addition to town staff, Aaron Jock and David Zomack. And today, the main thing we'll be doing is discussing the conservation land use policy and regulations draft that was put together by the mostly by the subcommittee back a year ago or so. With that, I need to open up my my agenda, but I believe that we're going to have some the director's report. Is that correct? Let me get that agenda open.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
sure. Very well, you do that. I'm happy to provide a couple of quick updates for the
Thank you.
commission before we get into the land use policy. Obviously, the story of the week is the storm, and conservation staff, our land manager and our assistant land manager, are out there trying to open up conservation, particularly conservation parking and trailheads. So I was out and about a little bit today. We're having a little trouble with our plow, but that is something that our small staff does at Buffers Pond and Sweet Alice and Podick and Wentworth and Stanley Street and the list goes on and on. So we're getting there, but there's a lot to plow out, and just like the town in general, DPW and facilities and conservation, we'll get there. So look for all of those places to be open, hopefully opened up by the weekend. Um, what else to share with you tonight? The CPA process is moving forward. Um, Jason and I attended a meeting last week where the CPA committee has done their straw poll and really voted for the most part, at least for their intentions of what to fund. Of the 16 projects, I believe 14 out of 16 plus or minus are being considered for funding. And next week, a week from tomorrow, the CPA will come together and we'll have we'll merge kind of the intentions of the committee with the financing, and how do we come together and try to fund all of those 14 or so projects in the various categories. And some of that will be cash capital available through the CPA fund, and the rest will be bonded in some way, shape, or form. So we'll have more on that after next Thursday's meeting. Um, let's see, it's also a time to kind of get planning for this field season. So, as an example, at Hickory Ridge, we've got a number of things that are moving toward getting out there to put out there for bidding. We're trying to get the major bridge over the Fort River out to bid and get that reconstructed. We've also got some additional ADA trail work that we've got to get done there as well. And of course, as I mentioned before, it's budget time. So staff from all different departments will be working with the town manager and the finance director on FY27 budgets. It's going to be a challenging year, as I said before. Budgets are tight. A lot of costs are escalating. So we'll do the very best we can to continue to fund the conservation department. And then last but not least, we are something that I initiated recently. We're going to be working with the Conway School of Design on an interesting project, an interdepartmental project, pulling in the DPW and the Conservation Department into a project to really look at kind of Lawrence Swamp, the greater Lawrence Swamp area, that area between the active rail line, the Belchertown line, and Southeast Street, and then points north, and then Bay Road, really looking at that whole big swamp area that contains so many different parcels with so many different histories, both of acquisition and conservation for various purposes. So we're fortunate to have a three-person team from Conway School of Design working with us. And we're going to be having a conversation. I believe Andre was invited to one of the initial conversations coming up in the weeks ahead as chair of the commission. And we're going to pull in the Kestrel Trust and a few other stakeholders to really talk about that. And they'll be producing maps, and we'll have some interesting things to share with the commission in the weeks ahead. It's a short project, about 11 or 12 weeks. And we'll be looking at land use, access, trail status, rare and endangered species habitat, and the list goes on. So we've got some really capable Conway students working with us on that. And it's a chance for staff and DPW and conservation to kind of just get our house in order down there, to really look at all of those parcels and see, are there other additional parcels we should acquire, preserve? What are some of the land uses down there that are working? Maybe there are some things, encroachment, et cetera, that we're not comfortable with around our wells or around our trails. So it should be an interesting project. Very, very, very fast moving, because it's a short 11-week project for the students. So those are the 3 or 4 updates I'll share tonight. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Thanks, Dave. Bruce, you had a question.
I just wanted to note out of interest that of all the 6 different winter planning projects that Conway is doing, this is the one that got the most votes, the most interest from students to be their project. So I don't know the students this year, but
They're
very
really
eager
good.
to work on it.
We met with them once, and they're very good. Aaron and I both agree they're very good. They're on it.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
super,
you.
super talented folks.
Oh, great. Very interesting. Thanks, Dave. As far as the chair's report, today's an exciting day because we are going to finally get in to the conservation land regulations. We've been looking forward to getting this done. It's going to be mostly a working session. We do have some other business to wrap up here with some minutes and land use applications and so on. And reminder that the hunting regulations will not be discussed here tonight. They will be coming in the near future. As probably an add-on to a regular meeting, or we may set aside another meeting specific to hunting. I did have a question for Dave. I know that you've had a meeting with the town attorney and the town, one of the police officers there, or the chief, I'm not sure. Would you mind updating us on that now so that we have that knowledge before the hunting meeting, please?
Yeah, I'll do the best I can, Andre. I didn't
Mhm.
really prepare anything. I know in a recent email you asked for some sort of written outline or written summary of that, and Aaron and I are happy to provide that for the commission. We had one, so, and Aaron, you may need to jog my memory a little bit. It's been a little while since we met with town attorney on this. Um, we overall, I think we've asked them all along. Town attorney always has to should always review any new policies and or regulations. Um, they went through that, Aaron. They went through this document we're going to look at tonight, and then they've gone through the hunting regulations. I think our focus with them was and I'm going to need some help here, Aaron, but our focus with them was you know, is the draft policy that was developed by the subcommittee, are there any red flags in it, any concerns? I think the one thing that jumped out at the town attorney, and he had to go back and do a little more digging on this, is that, let me see if I get this straight. His interpretation of state law regarding conservation land is that city and town conservation land is actually not open to hunting unless it is, and these are my own words, affirmatively voted by the local conservation commission. So by default, conservation land is not open. Any town that wants to have their land open to conservation, or excuse me, to hunting, needs to affirmatively vote those areas to be open. So that was kind of new information for us that we never, excuse me, never had with the town subcommittee. Excuse me. Been in meetings all day. Did I get that right, Aaron? Excuse me.
Yes.
So that was the one bit of new information. That the subcommittee, as far as I can recall, the subcommittee, and Bruce was on that subcommittee as well. I don't think we ever consulted town attorney during that process. We were kind of waiting to see where we would get and then share the draft with our town's attorney.
My memory is that it got subdivided out. And whether the attorney looked at that piece of it or not, obviously we're going to look at the other part, the non-hunting part. And there are attorney comments in that, but I don't know about the hunting one.
Yeah,
And
we
then-
can, yeah, I was looking for a brief one, and I really didn't want to get too far into it. I wanted to hear what you had to say. I'd love to see the regulations that the attorney's talking about. So if you can ask him for that, that'd be wonderful, so that we have it during the meeting and we can talk offline.
Sure, and then
little more on that.
on the local PD, we asked through the chief of police, in preparation for future conversations about hunting, we had never reached out to the Amherst Police Department, and we queried the police department a little bit about their experience with concerns or complaints about hunting on conservation land. And Aaron, do you want to help me out a little bit? That was a brief conversation with Ron Young from the Amherst PD.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. So we shared the analysis map that I created, which has the setbacks for roads and residences, and then it highlights the conservation lands, all of the conservation lands, and their sort of geographic proximities to the setbacks, and then highlighted the ones in red that are currently listed on our website as open to hunting. And just shared that with him and said, do you have any comments on this, or have you had any issues? Do you have any suggestions, things to make things easier, and or how has enforcement been? What is your sort of position on enforcement and how you deal with it? He was Ron was very knowledgeable about hunting, seemed like he had a lot of experience with hunting. And he expressed just sort of suggestions that, keeping the larger parcels that are further away from houses and roads in hunting, versus like the smaller parcels that are, more complicated to enforce the setbacks on. I think we specifically talked about Amethyst Brook because it's so small and it's so close to the road. But just in general, sort of those conflicts where they arise is close to roads or close to houses. And so we just sort of talked that through. He didn't really give any recommendations. We just sort of talked. I shared the map with him, and we were going to have a follow-up meeting with him to hopefully get some recommendations from PD or get some thoughts or ideas from them in terms of moving forward with the policy, things to share with the commission. But we haven't been able to have that meeting yet. So that is what I recall about the meeting.
If I could add, the one other thing was just clear communication, because for the police department, when they get a complaint, or they, we had that recent one up in northeast Amherst. Um, they need to be able to go somewhere to look for either the website or a kiosk or somewhere where the regulations are posted, because these things happen on a weekend, they happen on a holiday, they happen on, when nobody else is around. So there's no one to call and say, hey, is it okay to do this at that conservation area? So I think it speaks to clear communication on the website, policy, and out in the field on kiosks and signs, letting people know what they can and can't do out there. So that's all. Nothing really earth-shattering, but clear
Mhm.
communication to the public.
Great, thank you. To continue, then we are still, believe it or not, with all the snow that we've gotten, we are still in a drought status. We'll see what happens once this melts down. I'm sure it's going to be a big charge for the reservoir and our streams and such. And with that, I'm done with our director's report. Uh, Aaron, is there anything else that we
Yeah,
need to?
so we have minutes. We could table the minutes until after the discussion if you'd prefer. There is a one land use application, and there's a member, the applicant who submitted the land use application is with us in the
Mhm.
waiting room. So if you want to review that, and or if they have any comments to share, they're here. So
I think that's a fair way to proceed. We can table it until after the table the minutes until after the land use applications if you want. And then we'll get into our discussion of the regulations, I think would be the best way.
okay. So I'm just gonna pull up the land use application.
Yeah.
So the application request was for um, using a snow blower to clear a ice rink at Owens Pond on Wentworth Conservation Area. So that is the request. And I had spoken with Brad and Dave about this ahead of the meeting. Dave, I don't know if you have any comments you
Well,
want to share.
well, isn't the applicant here?
Yes.
Well, I would recommend we hear from the applicant first, if that's okay with Andre and the commission,
I
and
think that's a great
then
idea.
we can share staff comments.
Okay. Do you want me to allow them
Please,
to talk, Andre?
yeah, please do, Aaron.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Michelle. Thanks for joining us. I'm supposing that your name is Michelle.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, I'm
Yeah.
Michelle Wilson. Yes. Hi. Thank you for receiving the application and giving me a chance to speak. My name's Michelle. I live on Kestrel Lane, relatively close to the Wentworth Farm Conservation Area. And my husband, myself, and our two children frequently ice skate on the pond, Owens Pond at Wentworth. And many of our neighbors do as well. And what we're actually hoping for is to be able to occasionally use a snow blower to clear the ice when there's a significant amount of snowfall. Um, Obviously, we know that shovels can be used, but given the number of people who like to skate there and the space that is required to clear enough space for, significant usage, using a snowblower is just super efficient, and it also just creates a smoother skating surface for the kids. one of the really wonderful things about using the pond for skating is we've just seen like a tremendous sort of increase again in like the number of people going out and using it. And then there's just building community, there's just more kids out there, there's more families out there using it. Every single person that we've interacted with who's used the pond after the snowblower was used, thanked us for doing it. And then we were asked by the Conservation Commission actually to stop doing that and put in an application. We didn't realize we weren't allowed to. So that's why I'm here, to get formal permission from the Conservation Commission to do this again. Not frequently, but occasionally when there's significant snowfall, so we can clear the ice quickly and people can use the pond for skating.
So just to make it clear, you're not asking for permission to clear an area. You're asking for permission to get a snow blower out there.
Yeah, just to bring the snowblower out on the ice, clear the ice, and then bring the snowblower back to our house, park it there. It would just be, I think it usually takes about an hour or so to clear a big enough space. So it would just, again, be just when there's significant snow on the ice.
Would you mind describing that snow blower to us?
Sure. Actually, my husband knows the make and model, so let me just ask him real quick and I'll get right back to you. Hold on one sec.
Two-stage.
It's a Toro 28-inch two-stage snowblower.
Gas operated?
Yes.
I assume because of the
Yes,
size of it?
gas operated, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right, now Aaron or Dave for the town's view.
I guess I have the unfortunate role of trying to give just some advice to the commission. So who doesn't love skating? I love skating. I love Owens Pond, and this is, I think Michelle has described it quite well. It's, we have so many activities out there that are magical. I guess I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say that, unfortunately, from the broader town's standpoint, this activity comes with liability. If you are affirmatively giving permission for someone to do this, then you are creating that liability for the town. If somebody goes out there and shovels, they're doing it at their own risk. They could do it on a weekend, they could do it at night for all we know, we don't know. But, as much as I support, these activities, how do we know when the ice is safe? I mean, if something were to happen to, Michelle or her family, either in the pond or with the snowblower, by affirmatively approving this activity, the town assumes that responsibility and some of the liability for if something were to happen. Again, it's hard for me to say that because I do agree with her that it creates community and it creates a wonderful opportunity for children and families to come together and recreate outdoors. I also think it creates a precedent. If you do it here, do you allow it at Buffer's Pond, which is a much different pond than Owens Pond? Do you do it for, the pond at Sweet Alice? Do you do it at Cider Mill Pond? I think once you open that door, it's very hard to say you allow it one place and not the other. So I'm just sharing with you my concerns. And other ponds are shoveled. This is the first time I've ever had anyone apply. I think it's wonderful that they did apply and go through the formal process and approach you all. But I think those are my cautionary comments from the town's perspective.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. All right, I think I'll open this up for discussion with the other commission members. I mean, the one of the things that I'll say is that that we're talking about having a gas operated machine, a heavy machine, somewhat heavy. I have a large snow blower myself, and they're absolutely awesome. They do a great job, but they can leak and they can have issues, and I've had mine actually leak. And just another quick note, I mean, we prohibit the use of motorized boats on the ponds, and this is a motorized uh, conveyance as well. So I'll with that, I'll turn it over to the other commission members, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Sarah?
I did have a question. Did you say that shoveling is permitted? I just didn't quite catch that.
I think that's what Dave said, and I believe that's what Michelle said they've been doing for some time. Dave?
Yeah, we've never prohibited shoveling. Again, it's similar to for instance, yeah, we don't again affirmatively say go out and shovel, upon Puffers or at Sweet Alice or Cider Mill or Owens, but if people want to do it and take that risk, they do it at their own risk. But we don't affirmatively give them permission to do that. And
Right.
you're being asked to give permission to snow blow and use a piece of equipment on this pond.
Sarah, go ahead with your
Sorry,
second
I
question.
just want to be absolutely clear. I understand. So I understand we're not now being asked to give permission to shovel, but Dave, would you have the same advice for permission to shovel as well? That it's the giving the permission that's the issue? I mean, people shovel, they skate on Gull Pond near me every year that there's somebody always going out there, and I think they sometimes use a snow blower, but then they use shovels. In fact, there was the hockey team practice there, and they had a little sign saying, "Congratulations for being the place where the winning hockey team practiced one year." Anyway, I think it's pretty common for people to skate on the ponds. I haven't particularly noticed what they use to clear it, but my question is, would you give the same advice that we shouldn't be giving actual affirmative permission to shovel, or and I guess the flip of that is it, are we saying it's not allowed to use a snow blower on a pond, or is it against? I'm just unclear what the rule is.
I think there's a clear difference between shoveling and snow blowing. Andre referenced the policy you're about to review. Most of this policy is not dramatically different than what's been in place for 2 or 3 decades. So the use of motorized vehicles like ATVs, motorcycles, etc., on conservation land is prohibited. So putting a gas-powered piece of equipment out, or boats, right? Andre referenced motorized boats, so watercraft. So again, I'm not trying to be the that person, but it is a difficult line to cross, I think, to affirmatively give someone permission to do this. We're also talking about a piece of equipment that can be dangerous. Accidents happen with snowblowers. So I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, so in essence, skating is not prohibited. But to have someone request a permit to skate, that might then put the town into a liability issue as well. When you take that a step further, in this case, with a snow blower, you're introducing a motorized implement onto the pond that can number one, it can the extra weight could weigh down certain areas, and it could end up down in the bottom of the pond, or something might leak out of it. And also, if we are to, and this is again from my point of view, as a fellow commissioner, bringing in a motorized implement on top of a pond is the same to me as bringing in a motorized watercraft or a motorized vehicle.
The message to Aaron, I'd like to say something.
Are we, can you,
If you don't mind muting for a second, we'll call on you after you raise your hand here in a little bit. But we're
Oh,
going
okay.
to have some comments here from the commissioners. We'll give you a chance to speak again. Apologies for that misunderstanding. Bruce?
I'm gonna yield to Jason first.
Okay, Jason?
Bruce. I think my questions are somewhat similar to the ones Sarah had. That what Andre, you said that skating is not allowed. Skating is not prohibited.
I said that skating is not prohibited.
Okay. Not prohibited. Okay, so it is allowed. It's not prohibited, but it's not allowed. Is that the gray area that we're operating in?
I would defer to the town staff and town attorney on that. But essentially, if it's not prohibited, then there's nothing against it, so to speak. I mean, I don't know
Yes.
how else to put that.
So I don't. I understand. I understand the potential of saying if somebody applies for this, then and we affirmatively approve it, then the town is somehow taking on some sort of liability. So if they're not, so if somebody doesn't apply for it and just goes out and does it, does that still mean that, I mean, the town has no liability then in doing it? And then why were they told to stop and apply for this? Like, I understand the whole argument about, I'm not talking about the motorized versus shovel. I'm just talking about anybody doing that activity, going out and skating, whether they clear it with a shovel or a snow blower.
I think that the circumstances under which they were told to stop and what they were told to stop doing needs to be discussed here.
And who told them to stop doing it?
Well, let's hear that. Michelle? I have Aaron. Would you mind
Yeah,
enlightening us?
so what happened was I was out doing an inspection and I saw the snowblower sitting out on the ice. I drove by and saw the snowblower out there just on the ice, and so I was like, huh, that's weird. And so I went and did my inspection. I called Dave while I was out on the inspection and I said, I just saw a snowblower out on Owens Pond. It's kind of weird. And so Dave said, we'll go back and speak to them and let them know that they can't do it without permission. So I went back and approached the gentleman who was doing the snow blowing and said, I'm sorry, but I have to ask that you stop. And I said there's a formal process to apply for permission to do it, but I don't have the authority to allow you to continue. And so at that point, he said he would go. And that was basically the interaction.
Thanks for enlightening us. There's your answer, Jason. So what they were told to stop is snow blowing, I guess. Is that do we have that correct, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because it
We're
wasn't
told to
clear. It
stop
wasn't
snow
clear
blowing.
when you mentioned it before. It wasn't very clear. It sounded like you were told to stop skating. But
No. We were
okay.
not told to stop skating. I was just explaining why the snow blowing was happening was so that we could skate.
Okay, all right. And it is a really cool thing to be able to skate on your local pond. I could see that and the beauty of having your neighbors sharing that with you. Bruce.
So I have two things. One is it would set a precedent to approve this, because then people who had motorcycles with gridded things on the rear tire, or ATVs, or I don't know, other motorized vehicles who like to go around on the ice. So there's a precedent of escalating to other types of heavy machinery. That's part one. But also, I can imagine, I can picture, if there are this many people who love skating on this pond, there's that many snow shovels.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some kind of a call, let's go clear the space. That's a form of building community too, that is pretty action oriented. I can see a picture of that and when I look over the top of my computer. So, thank you.
We can always count on you for some great perspective there, Bruce. Thanks. Any other questions?
Shh, girls. I'm sorry, sorry,
Go ahead, Carol.
the kids are getting ready to go to bed. I'm just
All right. So is there anything else then? I mentioned that we would give you another chance to speak. So go ahead.
yeah, my husband's here too. He just wanted to say one more thing.
If
The
you
only thing I
don't
have-
mind stating your name, please.
My name is Nathan Wilson. The only other thing I have to say is that I grew up in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and this is a normal thing. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Will, this is going to be time for a vote. Is that right? Michelle, Aaron?
Yes, if you could just make a determination as to whether you're gonna issue the approval or not.
All right, but it doesn't have to be as a motion and a vote, or all right, let me do a quick straw poll. All those in favor of allowing the Wilsons to take their snow blower on Owens Pond, raise your hand. All those against, raise your hand. All right, do we need a motion, Aaron?
I think that that's probably fine to just have a consensus.
Yeah. Okay.
I think this isn't a formal hearing or anything like that. So I think that is fine.
I appreciate that. All right. Well, Michelle and Nathan, I think we all appreciate the what you folks are doing there. I love the idea of getting your neighbors together, each one with a snow shovel, and putting more hands to the job there, and clearing it together, if that's something that you guys decide to do. But as far as getting a machine onto the pond, it's not going to be approved. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you actually applying for this.
Thank you. One last thing I just wanted to say, and I know that this was acknowledged during the call, but it feels a little bit harsh to basically, if we hadn't asked for permission, we could still go on doing this without, the Conservation Commission's approval. And I just want to just say that I think that if the process is going to be like this, and again, I'm not going to fight your decision. It feels a little bit like asking for permission is the wrong thing to do. And I don't want that to come, like, it just, for future reference, it just feels like the better thing would have just been to not ask for permission and keep on doing it and pretend like we didn't know that it was against the rules. And so I just, as you're thinking about these decision-making processes going forward, just the act of asking for permission feels a little bit like we're shooting ourselves in the foot to some degree. So, and I don't mean just my request, I just mean the request in general. So
Yeah, all right,
that's all I want to say.
Yeah, you said enough.
Thank you.
The fact of the matter is that you didn't ask for permission. You were doing it and you were caught doing it. You were seen doing it and you were told that you can't do it. But if you want to, you can ask for permission. I mean,
Yeah.
this is all right. So let's not mince words then.
No, I appreciate it. I just wanted to add that additional thought, and I thank you all for your
Yeah,
time.
well, I think that thought was a little bit misguiding. Thank you. All right. Well, with that, we'll move on to the minutes. Or do we want to do the minutes afterward? Yeah, here we go with the minutes. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we did have the discussion planned for 7:15, so let's go ahead and do the discussion and we'll do the minutes later. So why don't we bring up I think what the plan is to put up the draft policy page by page and go through it one paragraph by paragraph. So Aaron's going to put that up on the screen for us all to see. We have a first page, which is essentially an intro and a table of contents. Do we have any comments on that? Just raise your hand, Tina.
Yeah, I have a comment in that I didn't see, unless I missed it, anywhere referenced in this policy how the Concom would address a right of first refusal on chapter lands. And I don't know if that's addressed in town bylaws elsewhere or if that's something the Concom has purview over.
Right of first refusal to purchase it, you mean?
Yeah, so when land is enrolled in any Chapter 61A program, if there's a change of use, the town has the right to buy that land before it changes into whatever use is proposed. That's not a Chapter 61 use.
Could you verbalize Chapter 61A?
Yeah, so it's a 10-year period in which you could be doing agriculture, forestry, passive recreation as long as the land is in open space. It saves the person enrolling the land. It gives them a reduced tax rate, and in return, the land has to be in that use for 10 years.
Thank you. I'll give that one to the Director of Conservation and
Thanks, Andre.
Development. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Tina. I mean, there's two options, I think, for the commission. You know, we could add a short section in this policy. It is fairly well spelled out, you know, in the town of Amherst that who gets, and by state law, who gets notified if Chapter 61 land is coming out, as Tina, you know well from your work in agriculture. So assessors, planning board, Concom, and in this case, the town council all need to be notified. And then in Amherst's case, the town council looks for a recommendation from the planning board and Concom as to whether either body or both bodies would recommend to the council exercising our right of first refusal. But it wouldn't be a lot to just add a paragraph in one of these sections under, you know, agriculture or whatever to do that. So we could make a note of that and possibly come back to that because I know you have a lot to discuss tonight.
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Thank you both. Sarah?
Yeah, my comment is just I didn't see anything about mowing or just basically how conservation land is managed. And it seems like from my reading of the statute and the mass don't know what exactly, but the conservation group's handbook that that conservation land's really in the custody and control of the commission. So it seems that even what the town staff itself is doing should really be at the direction and approval of the Conservation Commission. And, you know, including things like mowing practices, which is something I've been concerned about for a while.
Well, that's a really good point, and it does say in there that it is under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. Perhaps diving into into the practices would be a good idea for us as we move through this. Then definitely makes sense. Thank you, Sarah. Dave.
I have something to say, but I know Bruce's hand is up, I believe. So he
Go ahead.
It went back down. It's back down.
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you, Sarah. So it's interesting thinking back all these many months when the subcommittee was first formed, and I think it was my recommendation or suggestion and hope to the commission that we set up this subcommittee to look at all the land use policy and regulations. And one of the things that I put first on my list was, in fact, let's look at land use practices such as forestry, such as early successional mowing. We could put in pond and lake management, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, we got into a lot more detail, and it was a heavier lift, shall we say, than I think any of us thought. And it took us many, many months to get as far as we did, and we actually didn't spend a lot of time on that particular topic, Sarah. So I think it's fair to say, again, we could add a section to this policy in the future. I mean, this is supposed to be a living document, I believe. So we could add sections. I could see inserting sections, in the future as we spend more time talking about some of those other practices on the land. And Bruce may recall similar things in that working group, that subcommittee. It was a long, over a year of our work.
Thanks, Dave. Bruce?
Well, if Sarah has a follow-up, let's take that, and then I have a comment.
Sure.
Sarah.
So I figured that might have been a concern, because after you talked about how long it took to get to this point. So I just have a suggestion. Since we have a conservation staff, like, there's a procedural thing that could happen. I mean, I think it is a good idea to add land use practices as a category in it, even if they're not spelled out. But what could happen is that the staff could present what they, to the Conservation Commission, and then the Conservation Commission can just decide to approve it, or if there are concerns, then the staff can, go back. But that, I guess my comment is that ultimately it's the Conservation Commission whose custody and control the land is in. And so it seems that the Conservation Commission should be it's sort of like the board of directors of a corporation, and the staff or the people who implement it. But there should sort of be this sort of there should be that process. But it doesn't mean that we have to wait until we've figured out every last detail. We can just have a policy of sort of getting things, discussed and approved at a Concom meeting. That was my suggestion.
I think that's a great suggestion. Just to cut in real quick, Dave, is there do you have a kind of a procedures type thing on what you're doing with mowing and so on conservation lands?
We have mapped all of the lands that we mow. We generally, again, it's weather dependent. So we have, certain fields that we mow earlier in the season, some later due to, concerns about terrestrial turtles, things like that. But I like Sarah's suggestion of us putting together a short policy section on early successional mowing, like I was looking at forest management's chapter or section 11, that we could put together kind of a parallel section. It might be a page long. It doesn't have to be long on what is currently happening, and then you all could respond to it.
Yeah, I think that's a great start to it. Yep. That way, let's see what you're doing, what you have in place, and we go from there as a commission. What we are going to want, what we want to keep there, and if we think that there's something that needs to be, certain mowing is maybe needs to be done at a different time, or certain other uses and so on. Then we fulfill our part by our part as being the care and care people in custody folks for it.
Sounds good.
And each one does our part. Thank you. Bruce.
So, as the only member now who was on the subcommittee, I want to raise three things. One is whatever is done should be done, and it should be concise and expeditiously arranged, because we also have to have a public hearing about this document. Whatever gets put in here has to go back to the attorney. Then it has, then we have to talk, etc. So I would be very concerned. It took us a long time to do this. And I'm not saying don't add the other things, but I am saying make it concise and get a paragraph here and a paragraph there, because if you waited, and now for hunting, that's different. We have already agreed as a commission, we're doing that separately. But for the things we're talking about here, let's do it quick so that we can get onto the hearing, so that we can actually use this thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good point. Carol?
I happen to live near the Arboretum, and I have been at Arboretum meetings, and I know that questions or issues of mowing do come up. So I think it's a good idea to address it.
Thank you, Carol. I think many of us agree here. Jason?
I just want to clarify, when you say that we're being the stewards, and we're gonna look at what the town's doing or their process. Is there a certain level of expertise that we're all supposed to be bringing as far as like early successional mowing in fields? And I question whether or not that we all have that expertise, or are we just, what is the purpose of it? Like,
the purpose of determining when the mowing specifically is done, or
what's the purpose of the town? Or like, if you told me that we're going to mow, the town says we're going to mow this field because there's concerns, like, I don't think that I have the expertise to be like, whoa, you need to not do that because this particular animal might be there and is nesting, and I don't know. So I'm questioning, not that I want to question anybody's expertise in this commission, but like that's just my I'm not comfortable saying yes or no to any of that.
Sure. I mean, it's kind of like when we're talking about and I won't be the only one to answer that, but when we're talking about the flow, water flow on a over a certain area, or the BMPs and so on. I'm not an expert whatsoever on that, but I do know about wildlife. And so I know that at certain times there are birds that require fields like the ones that may be mowed at certain times, and that would be negatively affected by a mowing during that period of time. So I think because of the fact that we have a diverse group of commissioners here, each one brings some of their expertise. I know I didn't answer your question specifically, but when you look at when you look at our document that we're going to be going through here, as you have already, it does fall on it is our responsibility to ensure that the town, we are separate from the town, right? I mean, that we're here because of a state law, not because the town invited us, but because the state has put us here to ensure that the wetlands are protected and the lands as well. So each one of us we serve as oversight as well as a team with the town, and I think that there should be a little bit of back and forth between the town and the Conservation Commission. This is me answering two questions in one shot, if you don't mind. Now, with that, I'll pass it on to Sarah, unless you have anything else, Jason.
No, I just was more curious about like what that back and forth, I guess, kind of looks like. Here's our plan, here's how we're going to handle this land and the mowing, and then yes, go ahead and do that, or here's what we've worked with a wildlife biologist, and they recommend this.
Mhm.
Do you agree with that, or do you find any issue with that? Like, what is that going to look like?
Right. Well, I think you could see some of that in our prior discussions on this document, and in some of the discussions that the subcommittee had, where each one kind of put in a little bit of their own knowledge. And it's a good point. Sarah.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, Jason, and I just want to respond. First of all, there isn't a requirement that the Conservation Commission have a particular expertise. It's just that the Conservation Commission is charged, the handbook says who speaks for the land when it can't speak for itself. Conservation commissioners do. And so if we collectively, if there's nobody within our group who feels that we have the expertise and we have some question about what, say, a mowing plan that's being presented to us or anything else that's being presented to us, we have some question about whether it's appropriate, then we have the ability to engage in expertise to help us the way, we do all the time when people come before us asking for permits. So it's not that we're expected to all have the expertise, although I completely agree with Andre. Many of us do, and that's why we're interested in volunteering to be on the commission. But I mean, we all have different experiences, but it's the question of who has the sort of ultimate responsibility. And I think rests with the commission. And so I think there should be commission oversight over things like mowing. And then just one example. So I'm a birder. So for the last 2 years, the town of Amherst has basically mowed Wentworth Flat. And what it does is it removes all the brush and everything that birds use for shelter and feeding over winter. They've mowed it all the way up to the vernal pools. There's no riparian, but there's no buffer of the vernal pools, because I walk in these areas daily because I live right near there. And also I am concerned because the woodcocks, which is a particular kind of bird we have around here, come up very, very early. They come back and they breed very early. In fact, often there's still snow on the ground. And in previous years, when it wasn't mowed, you can hear woodcocks all over Wentworth, and there's no habitat for them. So I'm giving an example from my concern of this place that I dearly love with the birds that I really love. But yeah, so that's an example.
Great example, Sarah. It is 8 o'clock right now, and we've made it to the portion that says table of contents. So I
Long night.
believe that we're going to need to move this along a little bit, but let's hear from Dave, Rachel, and Bruce. Dave?
Sure. I don't want to belabor this. I think there clearly there's a lot of interest in this, and I'm again going back to initiating that subcommittee. One of the things I wanted the commission to really delve into was early successional habitat management, and I would, mowing to me has kind of a negative connotation. It's really, are we going to sustain and maintain early successional habitat in town or not? And that is a policy question for the commission. There's also a climate change implication on that. We use a tremendous amount of fuel to maintain over 300 acres of early successional habitat for a wide array of wildlife, butterflies, insects, birds, etc. So I think that's the policy question. So I don't want to belabor it tonight and get back and forth on Wentworth Farm or whatever, whatever particular habitat we're maintaining. But I think if we keep it at the policy level and the science level, then I think we can proceed. And I think Aaron and I would be happy to take a stab at writing up something for you to respond to. So I'll keep it short tonight.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dave. Rachel?
Yeah, it just zooming out a little bit further, occurs to me that we're mixing language around policy and language around regulation. And I think that's where it gets a little confusing to read or as a user, because some language is very prohibitive and very clear, like thou shalt not do this. And then other things are policies. So I wonder if as we go forward in the discussion, if we can the title of this is Conservation Land Use Policy and Regulations. If there's some way that we could flag for the discussion, is this a policy or is this a regulation? Especially if I don't know, are we able to direct the town to do something if the town doesn't have staff or people to do that? Is that then a policy if there's no way to enforce something that we're requesting, like mowing or managing meadow habitat or things like that? This is just a question.
I would venture to say yes, that we can direct the town. I mean, it's town needs to abide by the same laws that that individuals have to abide by. We do this we would, we're the ones who are responsible for the, proper treatment of the resource, and then the town is the one that implements it. So there's a limit to what we can do, but we can require things that are within the law. And for more on that, well, Dave's got his hand up here. He's got something to say. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I agree with you for the most part, Andre. I think my job is to figure out budgetarily how to achieve some of your goals. We probably, for instance, I don't know, if you decided from a policy standpoint, we don't want to maintain any early successional habitat, you could say that, and then we could implement that. But if you said to me, Dave, we want 300 more acres of early successional habitat, so we want you, again, I'm using just an example here. If you said we want 300 more acres of our 2,400 acres of conservation land to be early successional habitat, I would say budgetarily, there's absolutely no way to do that. And that idea would not move forward because there is no budget to clear 300 more acres and maintain 300 more acres. So I agree with Andre, that the policy is important. You may decide, for instance, of the 300 acres, we don't want, there's 6 small fields throughout town that we just want to let nature take its course. And then we stop mowing those, we stop maintaining those as early successional habitat, and your policy and your guidance to me directs me to do that. Does that make sense?
Apparently it does.
Yeah.
All right, great. Bruce? Bruce, all right. Well, I have one note here under Dave Zomek's name. It says Director of Conservation and Recreation. That's incorrect, right? So it needs to be corrected to Conservation and Development, right?
Yeah, and Erin's title needs to be corrected too.
Oh yeah, right.
She's the conservation agent.
The newest, yep. Awesome. Any other comments on this page? Okay, let's move to page 2, please.
I have one, it's no discussion, but there is a question about copy editing throughout the document. And the first one is the example in the middle of the first paragraph where there are quotes around something where it's not clear where the quotes came from, and there's 2 extra periods. I'm not going to note the rest of them, but that's an example. So we know that Erin's going to take care of, by some mechanism, the copy editing of the document once it's done. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. I'll just say after on the very first sentence, care, custody, and control of the conservation. That's not a big deal. On paragraph number 2.
I'm sorry, Andre, could you repeat
Yep.
the one you just said, just so I
The
can?
very first sentence says, Town of Amherst conservation land is under the care, custody, and control of the Conservation Commission. Paragraph number 2 says Amherst conservation lands are open to the public for passive recreational use. I would like to see a definition of that, unless we have it in the appendix, and I didn't
Oh, I
see
think it
here.
is.
I'm sorry. So on paragraph number 2, the first sentence, for passive recreational use, we should define that. If I couldn't find a definition, but we need to define that.
I thought I saw a definition later on. I could be
You
wrong.
did in the appendix?
Yes,
There's
yeah,
something in general rules and regulations that says passive
Yeah.
recreational uses such
Yeah.
as canoeing, cross-country skiing,
Right.
vacation, hiking, jogging, kayaking, leash
Yeah.
dog walking, nature study, photography, picnicking, snowshoeing, and wildlife observation are permitted.
Yeah, it doesn't define what passive recreational uses are, and I've seen hunting defined as and fishing as passive recreational use as well. So if it's left out of that, does it not? A definition, not a bunch of examples, is what I'm talking about. So we can put that in the appendix or whatever, but it's a note to be defined if we're going to be drawing regulations off of these. Anyway, on the last sentence of that same paragraph, it says the commission supports and encourages trail etiquette whereby horses have the right of way and cyclists yield to people on foot and horseback. I would remove that whole sentence, because that sentence is put in later when it talks about mountain bikes and so on, and it doesn't really. When I was reading that, it doesn't really fit there. That's up for discussion. It's just a recommendation. All of my comments are recommendations.
I agree with it.
Yeah, I do too.
I agree.
Okay. Let's if people agree, then we should just zip that out of there. Any other comments on page 2 of 25? Rachel.
Yeah, the sentence that says some land is still farmed, I feel like that has like a strange connotation. I wonder if it's better to say some of the conservation land is farmed as a fact rather than a judgment.
I don't know where it is, where that
Oh,
is, but
sorry,
it
first
looks good to
paragraph,
me.
yeah. Um,
Uh-huh.
we're not having we're not making passing judgment on whether or not it's being farmed. We're saying just as a fact that some conservation land is farmed as a fact. I mean, that's when we
Yeah,
say
or
some
farm
land is
today.
still, when we say something like some land is still farmed, it seems to suggest the author is against it or for it in one way or the other.
Just want
Okay.
to take out the word still, you think?
Yeah, some
Okay.
land, and it's conservation land. Some conservation land is farmed.
So if we can add conservation in front of land, that would
Yeah, that would be clear.
that would just be descriptive.
Yeah.
Okay. Any others? Any other comments?
What
Quick
if we
comments.
say some land, some conservation land is reserved for farming?
I'm okay with that.
Sounds a little more positive. I agree
Yeah.
with you, Rachel.
Sounds good.
And then the second paragraph, hunters and farmers using equipment. Do we need using equipment in that? Is it just farmers?
Why am I not seeing it?
Okay.
Oh, I see. Yeah, farmers using equipment, meaning as opposed to
Farmers who might be digging by hand. I mean,
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't need
Just
that level of specificity. Just delete using equipment.
sounds good to me.
Delete using equipment is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
change. Okay.
Great. Anything else on? Oh, Jason has one.
The under the bullet points where the commission shall endeavor to, second bullet point, improve the functions and values of individual parcels. I don't think values is really well defined. So if we're talking about definitions, the word that functions and values is used a number of times throughout the document, and there is one that talks about like habitat and things like that, but I think it just is a bit broad and should have a better definition and either specifically not include value as like monetary value, like
Yeah.
natural value.
How about the word conservation values or conservation value of individual parcels? That's a term used within conservation.
Yeah, but some of them say that, the actions that decrease the value, the conservation values are discouraged. Actions that increase the conservation values are encouraged. So just either defining those actions that should or should not be done very clearly, or defining the values,
Mhm.
I think is important. I think it's important to define the values.
Sounds good. Bruce.
Carol?
I think that phrase comes out of the state manual, and it's defined very specifically in there. So it's not just a general term.
That's a good that's a
There's
great
a
observation.
whole section on values.
Would you mind sending that just refer to that section to in an email to us all or to actually better yet to Aaron and we can go from there.
Okay. It's
Awesome.
there.
Thank you. Bruce.
I have a process question. Aaron, is there any reason that it's problematic for us to now be going back and changing things that have already been approved?
This has been going on literally since 2021, 3 commissions ago. So this has very much been a living document as we've edited it.
Okay.
I don't think there's really that much. I think my hope though is let's try to be as these are things that are necessary and that, are essential before we move to hearing. So if we could just keep that lens on.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. All right. Nothing else on page 2. All right. We'll move to page 3. Anything on paragraph on anything on paragraph 1 under conservation land rules and regulations? Rachel.
I understand the inclusionary statement in sentence number 2 that everyone is encouraged to explore and appreciate these resources. But especially peoples and populations who have been underserved or historically may have felt unwelcome on these lands, suggested it's being written from a place of privilege. And a reader may be trying to figure out if they're in which category they fall in. I think it might just be easier to say everyone is encouraged to explore and appreciate these resources.
Agreed.
Yeah, and for contextual, if I could just we had discussed including a statement for sort of an indigenous population statement. I'm not going to get the terminology right, but some organizations do that. We had discussed including that, and we ended up defaulting back that that was something that the town as a whole should really champion as opposed to the Conservation Commission. So it could be that that's a
vestige.
holdover from,
Yeah.
some of that. But I don't have a position one way or another, just contextually, it may have been in there from a previous discussion about that.
I'm good with removing that. I think I can see your point, and I can see that it does sound when I read it, I just left it be, but I could see that. Any other comments on that one? Why don't we go ahead and remove it then, and that portion.
I do just want to make a quick comment since Aaron mentioned the indigenous peoples note. I do know that indigenous groups have rights on land that often some people don't recognize, and I don't know if that needs to be stated here, just kind of like the hunting on weekends thing. Like there are examples of indigenous people have the right to collect wildlife, and they're sometimes discouraged by other people. So perhaps that's something that could be noted somewhere.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah, that's great.
Why don't we find a place where we can put that?
Does it make sense to put it right there at the top? I mean, because I feel like that sentence that we just removed had some contextual connection to what Tina just said.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking of removing the entire sentence. I liked what the suggestion Rachel made of everyone is encouraged to explore and appreciate these resources.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed that. Sorry. Let me fix that.
Maybe some type of a statement such as the public is reminded that native peoples of from this area or indigenous people originally from this area or something like that have certain rights that I'm not sure Tina, maybe you're
I can
thinking.
try and find something because I've been to a couple talks now, and I can jog my memory and come up with some verbiage that references laws and regulation.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So Tina's going to find something that good. Any comments on paragraph 2? Bruce.
Mine is with paragraph 1. So, Tina,
Okay.
I would be interested to talk with you about what you've discovered and make sure that we find a pathway to talking with Indigenous people about what to say. It's not as I understand their interest, it's in direct actions, not statements. And if we know that there are certain rights they have in Amherst, we should document that and say so. But if they
Right.
don't, then I just think we need more information before we put in overly general things.
Yeah, I know
But I'm
there's
happy to work on it with you. I'm not saying that.
yeah, we can talk more
Okay.
offline.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. I would just add on all the way on the right side of line 3 on paragraph 2, where it says the mission of Amherst's commission. It's missing conservation. Amherst's Conservation Commission, yep. Now, same paragraph, the second to last sentence says activities that harm or interfere with these values, processes, or passive public enjoyment are prohibited per the regulations herein.
I'm going to spell this wrong.
H-E-R-E here in. Yep. H-E-R-E in. Yep. The commission may contract the next anything else on that paragraph?
Yeah.
Jason, go ahead.
Just the statement that activities that protect and enhance natural resource functions and values are encouraged. I don't know. I read that and it's just like, yeah, go out and do this stuff. Like, we encourage you to do it if it's good and it protects it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that should probably be removed.
Agreed.
Okay.
I'm sorry, which
So why
line
don't-
is that
why don't we,
on?
Last
the very
It's the
line.
last line of the
very
second
last-
paragraph.
Good point.
I mean, so just devil's advocate here. I don't like to say that, but I mean, activities that protect and enhance, that could mean like habitat restoration projects or, you know, like culvert removals or
Just say with permission of the commission. Or
Yeah, I
something.
think we're
you
just
don't wanna-
we're
Yeah.
saying what, like, these regulations, there's
Yeah.
policies, like, I don't it's
It's not in the right place.
it's not in the right place and it's not necessary.
Yeah.
okay.
We don't need to encourage people to do things. That's not what this
Yeah,
is for. This
okay.
isn't to encourage people.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
I think words like those, like encouraged and so on, are just words. At times, it kind of seems that way, right? Yeah.
Fair enough.
Next sentence, the commission may contract with others to undertake certain management actions. Then after that, it says these regulations may change. They may be made more restrictive as deemed necessary by the commission, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, the regulations may also be less restrictive if the commission determines that the level of restriction is unwarranted. I think that whole sentence, or two sentences, don't need to be there.
Should
Yeah.
we keep these regulations may change and then
So-
go?
You really don't need to. I mean,
Yeah.
you just
Okay.
change them.
Mhm.
So just
But
you
nobody
wanna,
ever will because it's taken so long to put it in the first place.
assuming they ever pass.
These
Yeah,
regulations,
exactly.
if ever implemented, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
Well,
particular uses will be the beginning of that sentence, is that right?
mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
That's great. I had a note that it seemed arbitrary, that, like, what are we doing here? That whole paragraph is just sort of arbitrary, like what we're saying doesn't matter. So yeah, I think what you just suggested makes sense.
Great. Yeah, it's the subcommittee put in a whole lot of effort on this, and I think you could see by this how difficult it was when they're trying to get these points across and so on. So
I'm not going to take this personally now
no, but I
No,
Bruce,
until you
I
get to
really
the
do.
agriculture one. Then we're talking.
Well, I could put myself in the situation of having, if I had been putting this together, I can imagine that I might have been quite wordy at times when when another set of eyes or 8 other sets of eyes could help it a lot more. That's it. I appreciate that, Bruce. General rules and regulations.
I agree with the passive recreational problem, because I would advocate to take out number 2 entirely, because we don't have a definition. And to me, many of those things are not passive, they're active. And I think it just makes it confusing.
Yeah.
so I think one,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. When I've looked up passive recreation, it's anything that doesn't destroy the or that doesn't yeah, I mean that's kind of that it doesn't you're not driving a vehicle through and destroying things. You're not cutting wood. You're not cutting the trees down and so on. I guess it depends on where you find that definition as well, Bruce. But it's kind of this if we don't have it defined somewhere, then we just have examples as
So I have a proposal, which is we allow Carol to find the definition from
Well,
MACC. If
I
if
did.
there is one, no,
And I
if there
did.
is one, and stick it in there and not use the examples.
So,
So
Great.
I
That's a
can't
good
raise
idea.
I can't raise my hand when I'm sharing my screen.
Go ahead.
No,
I just wanted to say one quick thing if I could. For some reason when I'm sharing screen, I don't have the raise hand thing available. Just to say one thing is, a lot of, and I don't have an opinion on this one way or the other. I'm a regulatory person, so I don't mind the you can't do this all the time kind of language. It doesn't bother me at all. But I know, for example, like with organizations that I've interacted with, conservation organizations that I've interacted with that own conservation land, one of the reasons they include comments like this is because sometimes when you're reading the rules and regulations, it sounds like you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do this. And so sometimes it's like nice to include something that you can do, like as a positive thing. And that's just, again, reiterating from other organizations like Kestrel Land Trust. They like to list things that you can or encourage to do rather than these are all the things you can't do on their signage to make it like a more positive, welcoming kind of thing. So just a thought.
Why don't we take out the word passive?
can I say something?
Yes, absolutely can.
So, all right, I happen to have this right nearby. And some of these words, this 9th edition of the Environmental Handbook, a lot of words such as value, such as passive recreation, are defined and referenced in this book. Section 8.3.1 defines passive recreation. So I guess my thought is these are not these are terms, words that have a solid reference, and why not leave them in, because they mean something, and they mean something in terms of enforcing the state regulations, and that's why they're in this book. I don't think we have to go back, though, I mean, this isn't a major thesis. We don't have to go out back and pull recreations and definitions for these words.
So then it would make sense then that we would know what passive recreation means before we decide that that's something we want to approve, right?
Yeah, and and if you want to look it up, here it is.
Well, you have it in your hand.
1 point. All right, you want me to read it?
Sorry, before you read it, Carol, can we, I mean, to simplify this, can we just say passive recreation as defined in MACC handbook such and such?
Perfect.
I, sorry, but the lawyer in me, because you want people to understand this document. You don't have to put it right there, but you could put the definitions at the end if you wanted to. But I think they should be in the document.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and part of going through this is identifying the terms that need to the additional
Right.
terms that need to be defined. So there's no problem with us adding a definition for any of the words you find in here that need definition. We can just write define and I can get the definition. And also I have the handbook. I know where to find these things. So there's not really a need for anybody to go out of their way to find them for me.
Right.
You can,
But-
and when you're writing it, you can say define below, you can have a definition section that doesn't have to be up front. So not everybody has to be
have
bombarded
that.
with it.
Yes,
You
it's
have a
it's
definition
in the
section?
appendix.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
a
there you
very
go.
long appendix attached to
And-
this with a definition section.
It documents that things in italics with a little asterisk the first time they're used, send people to the appendix.
Oh, great.
So you could highlight, put passive in italics, put an asterisk after it, and then put the definition at the end. And I withdraw my suggestion with this new suggestion.
Okay, there's going to be a bunch of terms you're going to be doing that with then, right?
And that's
Good.
completely fine.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that's
completely
fine.
fine.
That's
Whatever.
normal.
Yep.
I
So
think.
I mean in the regulations that I used to enforce the Code of Federal Regulations, the beginning of each section had a subsection. It started with definitions,
Mhm.
and then you go from there. Any way that we do it should be good as long as the definitions that we need are there, are within our document. We don't have to define every single thing. For things that aren't defined, they look to Black's Law Dictionary. If not, they go to I think it's Webster's. Maybe Sarah knows better than I on that.
Yeah, basically, if you use a capitalized term, you should define it. Except for proper names.
Thank you. All right. We're all right. So we're at the general rules and regulations. And let me just throw something in here. Conservation lands are on number 1 are open dawn to dusk year round. Activities after hours would need a permit from the commission. What about people who go in there to fish? State lands are open to fishing at night and so on. Anyway, I don't know how we would address that, but perhaps we put unless engaged in, I don't know. We could just leave it like that.
Isn't hunting something that generally happens early in the morning, potentially before dawn?
Yeah, when I hunt behind my house, I go out. Well, dawn is essentially a half hour before sunrise. That's when you're allowed to actually use the implement that you're using to take the wildlife. However, for certain hunting like deer, people get there an hour before that so that they're not scaring everything on their way in and out of there.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
so those
it's a little bit dicey, that number one there.
just their being there
Yeah.
is regardless of them using the implement or not.
Yeah. Yeah. So a hunter would essentially want to be there uh, an hour prior to dawn at least. Well, depending on who it is and what they what they're hunting and so on. Um, I might, we do have this discussion on hunting that we're going to be taking up at some point. Perhaps make an, I don't know, perhaps except for legal hunting and fishing. If we put that in there, conservation lands are open dawn to dusk year round, except while legally engaged in fishing or hunting,
Mhm.
or hunting or fishing, whatever. That's what I've got so far for one and two. Anything else? Oh, two hands up, Rachel.
Yeah, similarly on number one, I was thinking of just how great our night skies are at a lot of the conservation lands, and I've spent many nights searching for the aurora borealis. I have yet to see it, but
Mhm.
or trying to find, it's fun to look at the constellations and all that, and I just wonder how to get a permit to do that on conservation lands every single time you want to pull into the parking lot or look up at the sky. That seems a little bit restrictive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perhaps we need to think about why is that there?
Yeah.
Why is it only open dawn to dusk? I take hikes out in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it gets dark at 4:30 in the winter. I walk
Yeah.
twice a day, every day through the conservation area. That's one of my favorite times to walk is at night through the conservation areas with a full moon.
Absolutely. Do we want it there still? I mean, what the only
There aren't that many people doing that, to be honest with you. It's probably
Yeah.
just us.
Yeah, Dave, can you provide some perspective? Because you got your hand up there. Are we
Yeah.
talking about like parks where people are partying and stuff at night, or what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is pretty standard language for conservation land that I've ever, experienced or been on. I think in part the exceptions that you've used. Let me go back. I think from an enforcement standpoint, we need to think about who's actually going to be out there enforcing any safety issues that might arise, illegal fires, um, camping, people who discover things that shouldn't be happening. Like if we have routinely we have campfires at Puffer's Pond. It's not something I think that the Conservation Commission wants because it's open fires and that danger. So if the people are out there, the police are normally the enforcing agency. So I think it gives the police some sort of boundaries. If you're out there, looking for owls or something I might do, I don't think a police officer would say, "Hey, what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm just calling
Yeah.
in owls." No problem. But I think if you're out there causing mischief, then this gives the police something to work with and says, the conservation areas are generally closed after dark. But I think it's kind of that 80-20 rule. 80% of the people are just going to be fine, but there's going to be problems out there, and we see them.
Point taken.
Um,
Jason?
Yeah, I just to Dave's example there about the fire, we have open fires are prohibited.
Yep.
Camping is not permitted.
Yep.
The next number three, disturbing the peace is not permitted, particularly by loud noises, disruption music, aggressive, uncontrolled domestic animals. I do think that we have a number of those things already listed as being prohibited. And like we did go see the Aurora Borealis. Like we gathered
Me
up
too.
like a bunch of people in our neighborhood, friends and our kids, and we drove up to Mount Pollux and it was beautiful.
Mm.
And it was absolutely nighttime. And like just going to Mount Pollux to stargaze or anywhere, right, is beautiful. So I I I think if we're talking about the value also, value is irrespective of time.
Mhm.
The value to me might be that I can go there and stargaze, right? And now you're saying that I can't use it for my value at night because it's closed, right? And it's I think you get into a lot of thing where we list a lot of these other things very specifically that are prohibited. So I would be in favor of removing number one.
Can we just have a quick show of hands who would remove that? Because I'm ready to remove it, and if we don't have to uh, do much more discussion here. All right, let's get rid of it. That way we don't have to talk about it anymore. I mean, not that there's a problem talking about it, but we have a lot to do, and I think that we're all or we're mostly in agreement that the police can that we can enforce these other rules. Perhaps Dave, perhaps it would be productive for us to speak with the PD, and they might have a suggestion on, okay, this park is closed, that park is closed, that park is closed. I mean, I don't know, but that might be something that you can look into there. Otherwise, I really don't. I think if people are causing problems, then the mere fact that they're causing problems is going to be the regulate the laws that the police are going to rely on to address the problems. Jason.
Yeah, we've been saying conservation land, and Andre, you just mentioned parks. Just for clarity, like Mill River Park is part of the conservation land, correct?
Mill River
Is
is a
that
recreation.
recreation?
Yeah, so it's connected to a conservation land, and there's a number of like, I mean, well, Mill River is a good example. Like, there's the rec area, which is managed by the rec department, but then there's also the conservation area. Once you enter the trail system, that's Mill River is managed by the Conservation Commission. Um, there's also like at
Or
Groff Park, there's a trail that's managed by the Concom, the Emily Dickinson Trail on Amherst College lands. So there's confluences, I guess, if you will, of like conservation, recreation. But when you say park, I think recreation land, and when I say conservation land, I'm thinking, open
yeah,
space.
Yeah.
me too. And I think that I don't particularly recall if that comes up in this document, but it's something we should be uh, aware of, that parks are recreation and parks can be closed, right? But it's not recreation. There's a whole different group of people that can labor over a document, not us.
Well said. All right. Anything on former number 3, which we have as number 2 now? Um, all right, so next page is page 4, or former page 4. I'm not a smoker, but why is smoking prohibited on conservation land? I mean, are you saying that that somebody who's out there on a hike or whatever and sit down and have a cigarette shouldn't be allowed to do that?
I think the subcommittee, I believe they discussed this, but it really has to do with, the unintentional starting of fires was one concern. And then the second concern, for instance, at Puffer's Pond, it's probably after dogs, it's the number one complaint we have is people don't want to share the beach with people smoking.
I
So-
would, I would love to change that to smoking on in at Puffer's Pond Conservation Area is prohibited. But frankly, I can tell you that I don't think that's a good law. I think it singles them out. Jason.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with you, Andre. I think it's good to have smokers aren't. I think there's also I have a concern about just people littering, throwing their cigarette butts down, stomping on them.
Well, there's
Um,
a law for that. Oh, sorry.
there is a law for it, but also, I don't. People go outside. My kids have asthma, and like anytime they walk past a smoker, it's annoying to them. And it's people go outside to enjoy the fresh air and nature, and somebody smoking a butt in a conservation area is, in my opinion, not a conservation value. It's something that decreases the conservation value as opposed to increasing it. And I'm concerned about fires and littering, and I think it's a good thing to have in there. And then, similar to the conversation about open fires and camping not being permitted, I think it's important to note that it's not permitted.
Yeah, I mean, I think the open fires and so on is good, but again, I think that we're discriminating against smokers.
I don't
Uh,
know. You make a choice to smoke. I don't know if discrimination, like, where do you draw the line? I love to have open fires. I love having a bonfire. That's my choice. And you can tell me where I can and can't do that in town, right? Like, I like to camp as well. And there's all this beautiful conservation land. Why can't I camp? Now you're discriminating against me as somebody who likes to camp. I don't know where we draw the line, or I'm an alcoholic and you're telling me I can't drink wherever I want, right? So I don't know if we should have habits or potential addictions determine what can and can't be done on conservation land.
okay. Well, I guess you have we disagree with each other here, Jason. Bruce.
Well, keeping in mind that it's almost 9 o'clock, I have a process suggestion that when there are differences, we take a quick straw poll, and unless there's significant disagreement with the primary suggestion, that we just go with the primary suggestion and then move on, because I'm fear we're going to be here at midnight.
Yeah. A good idea. We'll do that. Carol has a quick.
I agree.
All right. All right. All of those in favor of removing the hunting prohibition, raise your hand.
The
Wait,
wedding
Hunting or
prohibition?
smoking?
Oh, you said smoking.
Uh,
You said hunting.
That's
Freudian.
you can see that's on my mind. In
Yeah,
the
we
back
get
of my mind somewhere, right? Okay, all of those in favor of removing the smoking prohibition, raise your hand. All right. Well, I guess it stays. We'll see what happens later with the public comments. And a comment on former number 10, which is 9 now. I would take so if we look at the second sentence that says littering is prohibited, that should be the very first sentence.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it remains as is, as far as my recommendation. All right. So we have all these things that are prohibited, and then when we get to camping, it says it's not permitted. Let's change that to be consistent with the rest. We have a violin in the background. If you don't hear it, that's good. I would ask on number 13 or former number 13, it says no motorized vehicles, including ATVs, e-bikes, or motorized scooters allowed. There are a lot of folks who are relying on e-bikes to get around on their bicycles or on bicycles, elderly folks or people who are aging or are have injuries and so on. So I just wanted to point that out. I'm not at that point right now, but I could imagine. I know that there are people who are relying on that more. I will say that the state prohibits there's two types of e-bikes. One type that has essentially an accelerator, and that's it, and it doesn't have human locomotion in it, and that's prohibited. But for DCR, they do allow the ones that are pedal assist. We can discuss that some other time or whatever, but here that's my quick opening of that for discussion. Tina?
Oh, I was thinking more about number 12, but I agree with you on the e-bike in terms of accessibility. In college, I did a lot of camping on Amherst Conservation Land, and it was really magical. And I'm wondering if we could allow for, I don't know, just periods where we do allow for camping or stake out some areas where camping is permitted. It's just a really nice way of enjoying the land.
Right. Any comments on that? On allowing camping in some form or fashion?
So I I don't want to speak for Dave because this is a policy I think that was already in place. I think it's hard to distinguish. We've had a lot of issues with folks setting up campsites and living there basically. And it's difficult to distinguish. And there have been, I think, a lot of situations where a lot of trash and refuse is left. So I think that that was established just as a, a catch-all because it's difficult to regulate. Like, in some cases, if somebody like, somewhere where camping is allowed gets a camping permit, there's staff there, there's bathrooms there, there's um, facilities, and so this has become a more complicated issue because of folks experiencing homelessness and
Right.
stuff like that. I don't know if I've answered that properly, but Dave might have more thoughts on it, but just my understanding.
Yeah, I can tell you, having worked in natural resources, you know, I don't feel like we have the capability of regulating camping to be within what one within possibly what the kind of camping that you were doing, Tina. I can see people going and spending a night out there, and uh, after they're gone, nobody can tell they were ever there.
Mhm.
But I can also, you know, I can't, some of the nightmares that have occurred after a camping incident. I don't think it's I don't think it's something that we want to be responsible for. Sorry to say.
I figured that was the rationale behind it. I'm just thinking of like the National Park Service model where you're backcountry camping and like you have to check in and then you have to check out and
Mhm.
I don't know,
Yeah.
just backpacking on the Robert Frost Trail was really cool. And that trail is kind of hard to enjoy in a day. So my 2 cents.
Yeah, got it. I could say also that, for example, on the Robert Frost Trail, some of it goes through conservation land, but most of it is going through either state land, some of it through Quabbin, some of it through or a lot of it, at least locally, a lot of it through Coles property and so on. I think on Coles, they welcome the use. State, I think, does not permit it. Anyway, yeah. Um, Anything else on camping?
Yes, yes.
Cal?
I, um, I sympathize with what you're saying, Tina, but I don't think that the Conservation Commission is really going to be set up to handle camping. I don't think that's under our purview. I try to keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean, I think if going back to the sort of 80-20 thing that Dave said, like if there's people who go out on the Robert Frost Trail and they camp and go on their way, and they don't disturb anything or whatever, but then there's people who set up camp along the trail and they're hanging out there for a month, and I think when enforcement comes into play, the folks who are going out and finding these camps and stuff, they're distinguishing a difference, like they've been there for months. So I think it's there, and it protects the town. And, if people don't follow it and they go on their way, it doesn't really, it is what it is. But if I don't think we can really say it's permitted because then I think we're opening a box there that's a liability situation. I don't know, just trying to figure this out.
So, do we want to take a quick straw poll?
I mean, it could be this the language was different on that one, which is interesting.
Hmm.
I don't know.
All right. Okay. One last comment. Rachel, please.
Yeah, it occurs to me, Tina, hearing you talk about it was something that was structured. It was structured camping through an organization, and there was a checking in and checking out. And I could foresee having a land use application with some organization wanting to take a certain number of people backpacking along the Robert Frost Trail. So, in which case we may look at our regulations and policies and say, oh no, camping's not permitted, but is prohibited versus not permitted. That might be the difference in the nuance in the language. So camping is prohibited unless otherwise approved through a land use application could be another language, as long as it doesn't open up the town to um, a lot of consternation.
All right. Thanks. Jason?
Yeah, I was actually just gonna make the same suggestion rather than saying it's prohibited, say, something along the lines of camping is only allowed by permit or, you know, via land use permit.
Yeah.
I would love to see an actual campsite, like the conservation having an actual campsite. I think that would actually be a boon to the town, in many ways, and potentially be a way to raise some funds to manage some of the other conservation areas. But that's probably a much longer conversation than this document.
Thanks,
I'm
Jason.
for allowing
Dave?
by permit.
Okay. Dave?
Yeah, I think a lot has been said. This is really it's a capacity issue. We don't have the capacity to oversee a camping program. We have two people out in the field and we have 2,500 acres and 140 miles of trails. There's just no capacity to kind of manage that. So there may be a way through a permit, but overall, I think Aaron outlined, we have camping, regulated camping, and then we have people that do set up camps, and that is very problematic for my staff because we end up having to go out there and clean up those areas. And this is not camping like any of you have ever experienced, I imagine. It's dangerous. So anyway, I think those are my thoughts.
Yeah, and if we open it up to permits, then we're gonna get, I frankly, we can't even, I don't think that that we're set up to even do it by permit. That's my 2 cents there, but, yeah, I just don't see, I can't imagine us, attending to, a bunch of folks applying for permits to camp in this place or that place or the other place. If we open that door up, we may be sorry, and I would be sorry. So I don't know. If you want to take a straw poll, we'll do it. But I think we should leave it as being prohibited. Why don't we, all right, anyone in favor of allowing camping under permit? Raise your hand. All right, that's 3. All right, I don't think that's going to change it. People against? Or people in favor of prohibiting? That's 3. 1 abstain. Is that right, Bruce?
Dane,
Okay. Yeah.
that's not fair to you. I'll go with the permit idea. And if it down the road it becomes onerous, we'll change it again.
Okay. There we go. I would do except by permit. I would maybe issued by the Conservation Commission or whatever, I mean, so that so that nobody says that somebody else permitted me to do it.
Yes. Then do we have to add regulations or rules about how it gets permitted? Seems like you would.
That would be done through the permit application. I would imagine, Carol.
Mhm.
Jason.
I think you can add permit issued, or like except by land use application permit, or whatever the official title is for the land use applications. If that's the permit we expect them to fill out.
Makes sense.
Could you just repeat that, Jason? Except by
Yeah, I think you can
land
say
use.
except by issuance of a land use application permit by the Conservation Commission.
And that would be issuance, issue ANCE. There we go. We good?
Yep.
All
I have a
right.
comment for the next one if you want.
Go ahead.
I think we should probably just add no motorized vehicles or equipment based on our land use application permit from tonight.
Yeah. And that also includes leaf blowers. Mountain bikers are blowing the leaves off of some of the trails, and that encourages erosion and yeah, it's pretty bad. And I'm a mountain biker too. And just a quick comment on number 14. Excuse me. Which is now 13. At the very bottom, it says on a leash for one household. I would do on a leash from one household.
Bye.
Why?
Bye.
Because, I'm sorry?
No, BY,
What?
not Y. Unleashed by one household. I'm sorry.
No, it's on a leash that's coming from one house.
These are dog walkers. They're like
Right. So,
hired dog walkers.
so when you look at the purpose of that sentence, what it's saying is that somebody, a surrogate dog walker, can take two dogs from one house as a surrogate and be paid or be compensated for it. But if you say on a leash from one for one house, someone could be taking care of some other people's dogs or so on. That was the reason why I suggested changing it on a leash from one household rather than on a leash for one household. It's not a big deal. Two comments. Rachel?
Yeah, I just wanted to, if we can scroll back up, I think number probably about number 4 now. Users should avoid farm fields. Could we say where conservation lands abut or coincide with farm fields, users should walk only around the edges?
Yeah. Mhm.
Can you restate what you just
Yeah.
said? I'm just gonna put it in a comment to
Yeah.
refine later.
Where conservation lands abut or coincide with farm fields, users should walk around edges.
Should we add users may not hop livestock fencing? Because that's something that happens a lot.
Okay.
I think should that go up? That sentence might be more appropriate for current number 3, talking about the respecting private property, the rights and expectations of private property owners who allow trails through their property.
Mm-hmm.
I think
That's great.
Nobody should traverse, pass, go over, under, or through a fence.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean I think to this that because of we're anticipating potential future use of possible ag licensing. If in the future the town or the Conservation Commission ever licensed land to an agricultural entity to do some farming on conservation land, and or also like our community gardens, there have been situations like where dogs run through somebody's garden or are toileting in the going to the bathroom in the garden or in the farm area, in the field area, and it's caused damage. So I think that's why it was written that way.
So, yeah, I have an aversion to the word should. If we're prohibiting it, it needs to be shall. Or just make a statement that something's prohibited, because if somebody should do something, it's not, it's a suggestion.
So I think, I guess what I might suggest on this one is to let me work on this a little bit and try to figure out how to word this because I think, yeah, I guess I hear Rachel's comment. I guess it may have a little bit of overlap with what Jason's saying. So if we're saying conservation lands, if there are locations where conservation land does abut private farmland, and if what we're saying is, yeah, you can walk around the farmland, it might be unclear to people that where the property boundaries are. And so if we're saying, oh, but you can walk around the farm fields, people might not get it that, oh, that's not conservation land, that's private property. I think that's why we said avoid the fields. But so let me wrap my mind around how we can address both comments to try to um, refine that a little bit.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
I was wondering if the farm fields are farm fields that we have under conservation land that are being actively farmed and we're asking people to avoid them. You know, that's another point of clarity I think would be good to know.
Okay, Jason?
Yeah, my comment, I was going to comment on the dog. So if we're done with this one,
Yeah.
just that comment about the dog walking, is the intent to just limit? Are we saying that a surrogate dog walker? Are we saying essentially we don't want a surrogate dog walker to have more than two dogs at any one time?
No, it's commercial ventures.
Right, but with a
It-
surrogate dog walking of no more than two dogs on a leash from one household.
Yeah.
So no more than two dogs from one household. But I have eight dogs with me because there's two dogs from one household, there's one dog from this household. So a surrogate dog walker of no more than two dogs at a time, at any given time, regardless of how many households they come from. You don't, we're
That's
saying,
even better
Yeah.
to me. Yep.
okay.
Ah, this laptop wants to type where it wants to type.
There we go.
No, sorry, Aaron. I think you can remove from one household
Yeah.
because it's just two dogs at a time.
Mhm.
You don't want a surrogate dog walker out there with four dogs or six dogs.
Sorry, could you just repeat that? I'm a little been a
Just
long day.
remove.
Everything after the time. Sorry.
Okay, got it. Sorry, thank you.
Rachel, do you have another comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the e-bikes quickly. I support e-bikes with pedal assist as being something that is allowed for users on trails. Um, and I don't know if that's something that we comment and wordsmith later, but I think it's important.
I agree. Again, it's if you look at the model of the state, they allow pedal assist, but not the e-bikes that are full. I forget the term for it, but
Yeah, there's
yeah,
ones that are presumed to be sort of a mobility device, or that they are acceptable to be used as mobility devices, and then and that's due to sort of speed and power, I think. And then there's ones that are considered to be sort of beyond the scope of a mobility device. I think that's why we included the mobility device language, but I can look at what the state model says to try to tease
Okay,
that apart more if we want.
that'd be
yeah, I
great.
think you'll find a good go by there. All right. Under 15E Echo, modifying trails to enhance mountain biking and horseback riding experiences is prohibited. Um, I would just put, for example, leaf blowing. I really, I've hiked these trails up. If you go to the Houston Gauge Trail, that one gets leaf blown, and that's what I know. It's outside of Amherst, but it is part of the. Anyway, when I've gone up there, the damage that does over the winter is pretty bad. When you don't have leaves on the trail, they don't hold the water, and the water just runs down where there's a slope and will tear it up. Anyway, I have some more comments, but I need to be able to read them.
Andre, while you're reading,
Yep. Go ahead, please.
we state here that mountain bikers and horseback riders use conservation land at their own risk. I assume that's because the town doesn't want the liability of somebody potentially getting hurt. Why don't we just make a general statement that everybody uses conservation land at their own risk? Why are we singling out?
So there's a state law that basically says that conservation lands, there's limited liabilities to towns for public use of conservation lands as long as we're not charging a fee for use. We so this is another discussion that goes, I mean, you could look back at the subcommittee meetings. We talked about it multiple meetings, but to sum it up, to try to just give a thumbnail snapshot, there were in the previous regulations, there was this distinction. Mountain biking is allowed on some trails, prohibited on other trails. Horseback riding is allowed on some trails, prohibited on some trails. But there was never any, well, there was like horseback riding can be done on this trail and that trail. There was like all this nuance of where it could be done and where it couldn't. And we discussed everything from prohibiting it to outright allowing it and sort of came back to this. If people are going to use it, we're not going to say it's open for these uses. We're going to say if you use it for this use, it's at your own risk. So if you're injured or some injury is caused by being out there doing these activities, we're just really asserting that the town is not accepting liability for that. It's a little bit of a distinction, but we're not saying it's prohibited. We're just saying use at own risk for those purposes to try to make it a little more clear with all these caveats that the trail's not damaged and they can't alter it. And, we're trying to find a way to not make it because when you say you can go horseback riding on this trail, but not that trail, it's a very subjective decision-making process. Like there's wetlands, there's stream crossings, and it becomes very complicated to try to figure out where it should be allowed and not allowed.
Yeah, good points. I don't see that hurts anything at this point, and yeah, I see what you mean, Jason, that everybody uses it at their own risk.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine
It's a
with
good
it.
point. Yeah. And it does single out the folks who are here. Kind of along the same lines. I'm going to switch over to G Gulf. The commission encourages mountain bikers to practice trail etiquette of yielding to others. I would put mountain bikers, hikers, and horse riders because what we're doing right here is we're launching into the International Mountain Bike Association's trail etiquette, where we're going to be talking about hikers and horses. So bikers stop for everybody, hikers and bikers stop for horses, etc. So I would not just single out the mountain bikers we're all practicing trail etiquette since we're going to be talking about that in the next 1, 2, 3, and 4. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
The commission encourages mountain bikers, hikers, and horse riders to practice trail etiquette of yielding to others. Or you could take horse riders out of that. Because in the next sentences, it does not include horseback riders as having to yield. It's up to, it doesn't matter one way or the other, but yeah.
You just say everyone? Encourages everyone to use trail etiquette?
That's great.
I was just wondering, so I go on in the trails up behind Applewood, and there are many mountain bikers in there. And I've been nearly run over any number of times. And I was thinking, oh, that would be nice if the bikers paid attention to people on the trails. I mean, it's dangerous sometimes, really, to be hiking there.
Well, so one of the reasons why we're trying to move these regulations along to get passed is because we want to get them on signage and posted on kiosks at all the conservation areas. Right now, we don't have that. And the exact situation you're describing, Carol, is, if we can get them up so that people understand what the rules and regs are on these areas, we can't guarantee that everyone will follow them, but we're hoping that it might um, encourage people to be more thoughtful.
Yeah. Bruce?
To follow along with that, getting us to the public hearing gets it to the public. Even if there are some changes from suggestions from the public, it will get reported in the press. And so it's really important that we get this done and to the public hearing, and then into the system that would allow the signage that Aaron just described.
So Andre, I'm sorry to interrupt. I can't raise my hand when I'm
Yeah, go ahead.
sharing.
Yep.
I'm just thinking whether we should do a quick time check because we still have some other business to take care of.
Yep.
And I
Yes.
don't know where we should sort of stop here or just checking in on that at this point.
So obviously we will be needing to come back to this, and it seems like we're going to be spending more time on it. I would like to see us come back to this document as soon as possible. It's getting late enough so that we should all close up soon. And I agree. Yeah, I was looking at the time before and thinking we got to find a stopping point. How about we stop at the end of this one, or at the end of plants, nuts, and seeds? I don't really want to get into dogs until we're fresh again. And we do
A
need
very
to.
wise fellow. We spent a lot of time on dogs. Let me just say, whole meetings were done with dogs. And
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just-
So
For
let's
years. For
Yeah,
years.
well, let's finish up with the mountain biking and the number 16 and be done with the document for now. We can have a short discussion on when we can come back to this. Again, I agree with Bruce's take that the quicker we, the sooner we get this to the attorney or to the public and the attorney, whichever comes first, the better, so that we can implement, actually get them out and implement them. Jason.
Yeah, so moving forward with this, the last line before bullet point number 1, G1, common courtesy for bikers. I think we can just change to trail etiquette or
Uh,
common trail etiquette for all, and then go into the bullet points.
I would go a little further and say trail rules. Trail rules for all.
So are we going to change trail etiquette above to trail rules?
Well, you know what? I'm sorry. Wait a minute. This is the
Could we just
Well,
remove that and stop at others for the list?
yeah, I mean, what we're this is the comment that I think Rachel was making earlier, or somebody made, where we're
Yeah,
mixing policies and
and
regulations.
regulations, and it gets confusing. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And to me, the commission encourages the practice is great for policy. And if we want to leave it as policy, that's cool. If we want to make it rules, then we need to have it stated as rules. That's the only thing that I was trying to address. So I think I just opened up a little bit of a can there.
Also, we're encouraging mountain bikers to travel at a safe speed in control and not jeopardize others. I think we ought to encourage horse fighters to do the same. Not that
Mhm.
people are necessarily flying through these trails on their horses, but I can see somebody wanting to do that, and it's probably a lot harder to stop. I've never ridden a horse. I got to imagine it's harder to stop a horse than a bike, but I don't know.
You know,
The
Horses have
last
free
horse I
will,
rode, I
bikes
had to
don't.
jump off of. It was my neighbor brought a horse over, and I got on it, and it took off, and I had to jump off.
Yeah. So horse riders should be in control of their horses. Again, as much as you can be in control of anything with free will.
Yeah, great, good idea, Aaron, on generalizing that. Uh, and when you do, I do have a suggestion on that number two, bikers passing should announce themselves as well. Don't scare somebody. Anyway, we can talk about that another time. I think unless any other suggestions on mountain biking. All right, let's move to plants, nuts, seeds, and fruits. Um, uh, Toward the end of that, the second to last line, authorized case by case by the commission. I would clarify that authorized through a permit or through the land the proper verbiage for the permit. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And that's all I have for that. Anybody else? I see Sarah's got a comment. Sarah?
Yeah, can you go back to the language first? Well, I can look it up on mine. Um, is this,
There it is.
yeah, so this is what people are allowed to do. So are you saying that people are allowed to cut invasive species? I mean, I'm not kidding you. I say this because there was an older gentleman. So I walk through all the time through Wentworth, over the bridge, through that further field, and then along the bike path. I go in a big loop. So for a bunch of days, it was a while, one spring, every time I would walk through across the railroad track and then through that land to the bridge, there was this older gentleman just hacking away in there. I mean, I didn't say anything. But I mean, he was just cutting and cutting and cutting. I think he was probably cutting bittersweet. I don't think anything was blooming yet, but But anyway, I don't think it's like a great idea to just let people loose to hack away at things on conservation land personally, even if they think they're controlling invasive species. That's just, that really did happen. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, if I could, I mean, throughout the year, that's a great example. Thank you, Sarah. Um, if it's the gentleman I'm thinking of, he's one of our longest standing volunteers, and he was actually hacking away at. There's a massive stand of autumn olive on that trail. If it's the trail
Oh,
I think, so he's
so he had
working.
permission?
Yeah, he's working closely with Brad Bordewick. He is an amazing volunteer, and he has dedicated probably thousands of hours, and he absolutely despises invasives. So
Yes, he is
he
very,
no,
very dedicated. All
yeah,
right, well, I'm glad
so,
to hear it was
yeah,
something you knew about and he was doing it
yeah.
with permission.
I will say that there's very few people out there that will spend dozens of hours or hundreds of hours on their own actually taking out invasives, except for in organized groups or under the
Right.
watchful eye
It
of
just
Brad
looked a
Bordewick.
little odd, right?
Yeah,
But
all good.
I let him go do his thing, but I just thought I'd comment on it.
Maybe, maybe he
Oh.
needs a badge.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But probably don't, Dave, you want to have authorized people to do it? That's the only thing I worry about. This doesn't require, right? Or does it? Does the permit?
I think we'll have to talk about that in the future. You know, Aaron and I have talked about a notice of intent for management of trails. I mean, we certainly, I certainly don't want to get into authorizing the removal of every, stand of autumn olive or Japanese knotweed or something like that. We've got to have some sort of broader approvals to move forward on conservation land, because I think we'll certainly get bogged down in, we're going to do this trail on this day. There's, again, we are overrun by invasives. It's something I think I added to my list. In addition to early successional management, invasive species management needs to be its own section too. But we will have time to talk about that.
That's great. All right, well, we've progressed 4 pages plus the intro page. So Bruce, I'm sorry. I'll get to you in a minute. I think we've had a wonderful back and forth and discussion on this, and I think everybody's done a great job to move or to give good opinions and insight. After Bruce's comment, we'll move on to wrap up the rest of our business for the night. Bruce?
I think we need to seize our opportunity of 26 inches of snow to have more. These meetings can happen now because nothing else can happen. And let's
Yep.
just, well, not nothing, but you know what I mean. Let's seize our moment here.
Yep. Well, all right. Well, since we're there, Aaron, when do you see that we can, when is the soonest that you see that we can reconvene on this topic?
Well,
Or let me just back up one step. If it's something that's better done offline, maybe we do that.
yeah,
But
I think we should check in offline and figure out a strategy for how to move forward with this. I mean, I think it's wishful thinking to assume that we're going to have meetings where there's no hearings. So if we dedicate an hour to each meeting to try to burn through the remainder, and or if we want to schedule special work sessions or something, these are all options that we can consider, but I think it's challenging when we've got hearings on the agenda. There's never been a time when we haven't had a hearing on the agenda in the last year.
So why don't let me propose that we carry out this administrative conversation offline on through email And we aim to get as much of it to get it all done as quickly as possible, including considering an, another meeting that's not that doesn't coincide with our Wednesdays and so on. Let's just throw that conversation back and forth and get something figured out within the next week or so. Is that you think that's a possibility there? I think we should do that. Okay. Well, now let's go back to our agenda. We have minutes and we have certificates of compliance. Land use application is done. We have 2 certificates of compliance plus the minutes. Is that what we've got left?
Yes.
Okay. Let's hit the minutes if we could.
Andre, I move to approve the minutes from 8/13/2025, 10/22/2025, 11/12/2025, and 12/3/2025.
That's Jason on the motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
That's Tina with a second. Tina.
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
make sure you unmute yourselves. Rachel,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
and I'm an aye.
How
Oh,
about
no,
me?
Bruce,
Just because I
aye.
wrote them, I don't get to vote?
Aw.
I'm sorry, Bruce.
Aye.
And
I'm an aye as well.
Bruce gets 2 votes.
Okay. Thank you all. Now, let's go to certificates of compliance. Aaron, would you mind introducing the first one?
Sure. Well, so I guess on both of these there's questions related to time of year. So we're gonna continually get these through the winter as long as we've got snow. And we've got snow-covered frozen conditions which prevent my ability to conduct a meaningful site visit where I can sort of assess compliance. So there's that question and how you want to handle certificates of compliance for the remainder of the winter. And then the other question is, this is the second and third time with operation and maintenance logs that were, so in the case of North Service Road, there was no log submitted. The project was permitted at the end of 2024 and the work was completed, and it's like they're completing work and they want their certificate of compliance, but under orders of conditions, we're required to have 3 consecutive years of documented operation and maintenance of the stormwater system. And so how to proceed in cases like that when we get a request for a certificate of compliance on a project that's just been completed and they want a certificate, we can either issue a partial, which some commissions do and some commissions don't, because it basically removes the encumbrance from the deed, and also doesn't really provide incentive for applicants to come back to us with their logs to demonstrate that they've done the work. The other thing is, you know, when we issue an order of conditions, there is actually a log that's in the order of conditions. So we say, when you submit a certificate of compliance, this is the log we want you to use, and this is the information we want you to gather when you conduct your inspections and your maintenance. What happens in situations where that log isn't used and the information that we require on our maintenance log isn't collected? As is the case with 70 University Drive, we have the date, the time, the temperature that the inspection was done, but we don't have any information on what structures were cleaned, what inspection was conducted, what maintenance was conducted, and we're supposed to have that for 3 years as well. So we're going to start getting more of these because there was quite a few projects that were wrapped up right around the time I started. And so when we should start thinking about policy wise how we want to deal with these types of situations, what the commission will hold strictly to in terms of requirements in the issued order of conditions, and how to deal with these exceptional circumstances.
Thanks, Aaron. So that's a policy question there. Jason.
Yeah, Aaron, I don't want to necessarily put more work on you, but would it be beneficial for us to create a required inspection form so
We already
that
have one. We already have one. It's already, we have a standardized form that we require. I instituted that when I started. These are ones that were permitted prior to my arrival. So, but yeah, we have one. So like 110 North Service
okay.
Road has a standardized form. 70 University doesn't because they were permitted prior to my arrival, but yeah, we do have a standardized form. So to be clear, 70 University Drive had a form that was approved in their order of conditions. They just didn't use it and they didn't submit it to us with their certificate of compliance request.
Sorry, they had a form that was approved. And just for clarity, when did you start?
The end of 2019.
Okay.
So I can show you to make this a little easier. I'll try to go quickly
Yeah,
here.
sorry. So my point, like this, I agree with you. Like I think this form that they is inadequate. It doesn't say anything. And then there's these two stormwater inspection reports that are blank. They say nothing.
That's the approved form. So the two blank ones were the ones that were, those were the forms that the commission approved in the order of conditions to be used for the inspections. And then what was submitted to us, that Word document, that was what they're calling the inspection report, which doesn't really have any information in it. I sent a correspondence back to the applicant saying, hey, this document tells me what time and what temperature was, but it doesn't tell me what structures were cleaned or what was done. And they just sent the same one back to me again. So sorry, I'm really tired.
No, it's okay. I mean, I'm just, I don't understand. As far as I'm concerned, they didn't do what they were required to do.
Yeah, I requested, like, do you have receipts from the folks who did this that you could provide the receipts saying what action was done, and then the report was just sent back to me. So I guess the question is, what do we want to ask of the applicant? I just want to be really clear and where the commission's drawing the line, because I have to communicate with applicants and I can say I need this additional information, but if they don't provide it to me, okay, the commission's not going to issue an order of conditions on this until you do X, Y, and Z. And so I just need some clear direction to give them of what we're going to hold firm.
I think that they need to provide evidence that these things were actually done, that the maintenance was done, who performed the maintenance. Do they have, I mean, at the very least, show that they have a contract with somebody, a competent contractor that can do the maintenance, like, and then use the forms that were approved for that use. I mean, literally, this is just a date, a time, and a temperature, and it says nothing else. So,
right.
I advocate for not issue, like for saying we're not going to do this until you use the forms that were approved and that you show that this work was actually done. Now they're going to have to show that, I don't know, I guess with a contract, some sort of invoicing from a company that's capable of doing this.
Okay. Hang on a minute, Sarah.
Go ahead. I'm done.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a certificate of compliance is something that we certify that they complied. They have not complied because they haven't given us what they should, and it's as simple as that. When I consider it, I'm just going to step back. I butted in there in front of Sarah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that, sorry, I wasn't following exactly what they were supposed to do, but if it's not possible for them to go back and recreate what they did, whatever it was that what they were doing was supposed to achieve, they should be able to hire someone like an engineer, some professional that would be able to go and inspect it and make sure that the end result was achieved, if you see what I mean.
Well,
Like,
and they are willing to do that. They said they would be willing to do that. It's just, I just want to make sure that the commission realizes if you're saying, here's the log that we're approving you use, and we're requiring that you fill this out for 3 years when you get your certificate of compliance. If we then say, we're going to waive that requirement and just allow you to have an engineer's inspection.
yeah, but I understand, but you can't have a cloud on their title forever. And honestly, it doesn't actually achieve the goal. I mean, the log is not an end in itself. The log was to show, I don't exactly know what it was that they were supposed to be doing, but whatever they were supposed to be doing, there's some substantive thing that was supposed to happen to protect the resource. And that maybe, I mean, you should be able to determine whether the resource was in fact protected. And if it wasn't, and maybe not, but I
Yeah.
just think if too much time goes by, like going forward, there might be things, not these projects that you've inherited, but going forward, there might be procedures to put in place that would make it less likely that this happens, like requiring them to regularly submit these logs, not wait until some, long period of time has passed and they can't rectify it any further. Do you know what I mean? There might
Yeah.
be something else that procedurally that will make it less likely that they'll default in this way. But if you're trying to clean up past ones, you could make it very clear that you're just cleaning up this past one in your decision or our decision, that because of this, the fact that you inherited this thing and it's kind of a mess and there's actually no way to go back and recreate what happened in this particular instance, you're going to allow some independent person that you feel comfortable can come in and assess and rely on that instead. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you guys are comfortable with that, it's totally fine. I just want to, as a word of caution, when you allow that, it basically provides, well, you don't have to do the maintenance then, which is required. We're just going to
But
allow
how
an
it,
inspection at the end, and then we're going to call it good and give you your
I
sign off.
understand. You can make it
Wrap it
clear
up.
that, but how are they going to ever comply? Like what is the
They
end
didn't
game?
comply.
What?
They did not comply.
I understand, but
We cannot certify that they complied. I mean, that's how
forever?
it is. It's either they did or they
Forever,
did
you
not.
mean? Yeah,
Um,
that doesn't seem right
So
for that.
then, our regulations are not, have no value to them then.
No,
Either they
you've got
comply
to
or they
set
don't
up a
comply.
regulation that's achievable, because the problem that a certificate of excuse me, an order of conditions is a cloud on title. Potentially, they won't be able to find, I don't know, maybe not, but it's a cloud on title that you can't, it affects their title. So yeah, I don't know that it ultimately serves our goals if they just never did what they were supposed to do and there's no way for them to fix it, and you know what I mean? Like,
so what we did last time with at the last meeting was we issued a partial certification, and we said, we're issuing you a partial certification, but we're still requiring that you submit 3 years of maintenance logs prior to getting a full certification. We could do that.
but that's even a little bit worse, because when you release the certificate of compliance when you issue a partial certificate? Aren't you
Yeah,
releasing? Yeah.
yeah, you are. There's an attachment to it that says these are the additional, these are the things that are incomplete, and we're going to require you to do this to get a complete certification. So, I mean, I don't really know how else to handle it. I mean, we could say, follow Jason's suggestion and say, have the forms filled out and provide, backdate the forms, fill them out accordingly, and provide a contractor a contract from
Yeah,
your
if they can
contractor
do that,
from
that
that,
would be great.
then that's an option. I'm just yeah, trying to
That's
trying to figure out a
that,
solution.
Yeah, if
okay.
they can do that, that would be better
All right.
if they're able
Let's
to do
move on
that.
to the next commissioner, please. And I'm sorry, Jason, it sounded like you had something to say about what you had suggested.
I'm not necessarily suggesting that they go in and backdate, but like show some other form of proof that the work was actually done by a qualified person or company. I think backdating is not, I don't want to,
Yeah.
that's not what I was suggesting.
Right. I mean, so you weren't suggesting going back and inventing stuff, and you weren't
Yeah, or,
suggesting
yeah,
and
yeah.
and you weren't making the suggestion that Sarah was making either, that is to have somebody go in and certify that even though they didn't do any maintenance logs and so on, that there was no damage done, so to speak. I mean, am I right, Sarah, that that's kind of what your
Well,
suggestion is?
I don't know, because I'm sorry, I was not clear about exactly what they were supposed to do, but just that if there's some alternative way to show that they did what they were supposed to do, basically, to achieve whatever the goal was of requiring them to do the logs. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Maybe there
Yeah.
isn't, but
Okay. Yep. Okay. All right.
yeah,
Tina?
I was going to say, I don't think we should release them from their obligation to do 3 consecutive years of these logs, because I think the logs provides a very clear framework of what they need to be doing. And then I think, to Andrew's point that it is 3 consecutive years, but if they could come up with a hardship as to why they didn't do it the first years, maybe someone else is coming back on scene and picking up where they left off. I think we could issue a certificate of compliance once those 3 consecutive years has passed.
Thank you. Rachel?
What I was gonna say, Tina, yay.
Well,
I was, and also just that a lot of the times the logs are inspection related, so inspecting, if they're stormwater related, inspecting systems and making sure there isn't sediment and things are functioning correctly. So you can't recreate those. I don't think, I mean, some engineers might be willing to, but I think there's a code of ethics of going back and creating things that didn't happen. So going forward, having a system to go forward from the point, 3 years from the point that they start up again, is something that makes sense to me.
thanks. And along the lines of what Rachel has just said and what Jason mentioned earlier, you can't just doctor up a bunch of logs from the past and say that fine, we're gonna this is what this will quiet them down, and this will get us through to the certificate of compliance. The fact is that these companies did not fill out the logs properly as they were supposed to. So they didn't comply. So we can't certify that they complied. I don't feel right putting my name on a certificate of compliance when people are not complying or when a company's not complying. So I think from my point of view, I would be satisfied if they took another 3 years of maintenance logs and filled those out. But I'm not going to personally vote for either a full or partial certificate of compliance for anyone who hasn't complied. Period. It's just the way it is. It's you either comply or you don't. We have rules and regulations, and they weren't followed, so they didn't comply. That's the end of mine. Bruce, go ahead, Bruce.
Trying to get them. So let's just say that Andre's point is taken and we don't issue it. From the applicant point of view, what happens? Does it mean they cannot sell the land? Does it mean that they cannot use the thing that they've built? What is the practical outcome of not giving them the certificate of compliance for 3 more years?
Yeah, it would be an encumbrance on the deed. So it's the
It
deed is
doesn't
not.
prevent them from selling it. It's just the buyer would know that there was this encumbrance, correct?
Um, yeah, sometimes you can't get like a mortgage or, take
Mhm.
sometimes they won't accept an unclear title like a.
The reason I ask this in part is because what happens with the applicant who comes in, doesn't do this part of it for a year, but their project is done. They have to wait 2 more years of before they can sell the thing or use it or.
Well, so in the case of of 110 North Service Road, just to use as an example, I don't feel comfortable really doing an inspection right now with snow on the ground. Like
Yeah,
I'd want to go out and do the
totally.
inspection, in the spring. At that point, they will have done some of their maintenance logs. So we could say, okay, some of your maintenance has been completed. We still want 2.5 years of maintenance logs. And we could issue a partial potentially because they've shown compliance and they've done their inspections up till that point. For one where there's no evidence that they've done maintenance, we would either need, I think, the suggestion of a contract with the party that was certified to do the maintenance and potentially an inspection from an engineer. Might be some middle ground, whether the commission wanted to issue a partial and require 3 complete years of the maintenance logs filled out. That's an option. Um, I'm just trying to figure out a bridge to, once they get the certificate of compliance, the deed is cleared for the sale. So, whether
Is
it's
it
partial or
holding up
full,
their sale? Did they say that?
there is a
One,
sale, I believe, coming. Usually there is with these. Yeah. This gives me some guidance, but I mean the commission's okay. Like when I can't do an inspection because of snow, it's kind of anticipated that we'll have till spring at least to
Yeah.
do an
I
inspection.
don't see how they do their logs and do their inspections and what have you when there's this much snow either.
Yeah, it depends on the structure.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
a catch basin you could inspect. A detention basin might be a little more challenging if there's sediment in it.
Yeah.
but that would be put
Um,
in, that would be put into into the log itself, right? I mean, couldn't inspect this month because blah,
Well,
blah, blah.
that's a good point.
I mean, it's
mhm.
the fact that they don't have it is just, I mean,
Yeah.
anyway,
No,
I
I
don't wanna
I hear you.
belabor the point. Jason.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say these are quarterly inspections, so
Mhm.
right. So it's like, if you can't inspect 1 quarter because of 26 inches of snow on the ground, like it's likely you just state that in the inspection log.
Okay.
Right. That gives me guidance that I need. I think I can hopefully communicate with the applicant from here with some level of suggestion for how to move forward.
Um, Let me throw something else in there. I mean, we have two different cases here. One of them that didn't that either didn't do them or basically provided minimal information on their logs when they did, and another that didn't have the opportunity because not enough time has passed. Now, I think in the case where not enough time has passed, um, I think, I don't know, would there be, we're talking about encumbrances, if you would, on a deed. I think merely having a statement from the Conservation Commission saying that cannot be, that the certificate cannot be issued yet, but that they are complying to date, and that this compliance needs to continue through the first 2 years or whatever amount of time of the new owner's ownership, would probably satisfy a lender, or I don't know. I don't really know, but I'm interested in exploring that, because again, issuing a partial certificate on paper actually releases them or at least it kind of releases the owners of having to do any further, because they can sell the place and so on. But maybe we can find out whether making giving them some kind of a certificate that they have been complying and are continuing to comply. I don't know.
Yeah, I could talk to the town our town attorney and see what they might recommend too. That's also another option I could look at.
Okay, thanks. Rachel?
Yeah, and another town in our area, you were allowed to close your permit if you were complete with the work prior to the end of the permit expiring. But you had to present all the monitoring logs at that hearing, at that meeting, to close out your permit. And then you were required in forever to keep 3 years worth of logs on file. And so if that person ever comes back, or that entity ever comes back for another permit, they have to present those monitoring logs and maintenance logs as part of their application. And that's how it's been handled in at least 2 other towns. And then there's another town where someone has to report, and that's more handled in a stormwater permit, that they have to submit their monitoring and maintenance to the municipality once a year, forever. And that's a different model altogether.
Yeah, and we do have a new stormwater bylaw, and so and I believe that Southeast Street project that we're currently reviewing is going to be the first, and so they will be required henceforth when they get their permit to submit annual operation and maintenance log records to the town. And yes, what you're saying is totally correct. Like they are still required to keep those 3 years of records as part of their, in perpetuity. That's a requirement that they do. Really, we should. I write into all of our permits that I've issued. You're required to have all of your monitoring. Like, so they're really required to have them available to us, a maintenance log at any time demonstrating that they've been conducting their maintenance since the structure was installed. So anyway, but these ones are harder to address, that are like one-off situations, which we have 2 of tonight.
All right, so you got some guidance now. Are we
Yes.
looking to vote on these 2, or you're going to, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm hoping that's the end of our conversations here. Carol, you have your hand up.
Me too. This is going back to December, and you told us that you had requested from the, I guess, archipelago after the Olympic Place fires, that they give some information about replacing erosion and sediment controls and soil testing and the conservation area. And I know it's winter, but so back in December, you said there was no response. Have you had any response?
I have not. They did install erosion controls, which I saw in the photos that were taken by the SWIP monitor for the project that was under construction right next door. So I could see that they got my email and they installed the erosion controls. They never responded back about the cleanup of the conservation land or the soil testing. So, yeah.
Isn't responding to requests a good thing to do? I mean,
Yes, yeah, and I've been a little just passive about it right now because it was such a major
right.
catastrophe, and I know they're working to make the site safe right now, and right now they're doing the demo, and so the fact that they're getting the material out of there and they're stabilizing the site, I sort of have been focusing on they're probably trying to do that, as the next step. But I think come spring, when the site's thawing out, we should, you know, give them a little bit of lead time to take care of the emergency nature of the situation, but maybe revisit it with them.
Well, I'm asking because I hadn't heard anything. We haven't heard anything
Yeah.
about it. So.
Right.
That's a great point, Carol. And what I would ask about that is what is our recourse right now? We've asked for we've asked them to provide us something. We haven't heard back. How about we give them a date? We need a date by which they should respond. I mean,
A good idea.
There's a concern there that there's damage done to conservation land that they're responsible for. And we want to make sure that's addressed. I mean, they need to, wouldn't we want to have that addressed within a certain time frame? Yeah. I know that they're doing other things, but they have recourse, resources. Somebody could at least answer your letter.
Right.
And if they don't answer the letter, then what's the next thing? It's an enforcement. We get into enforcement. Aren't we right? Or am I right is my question.
Yeah. If it's okay, I'd like to look into that a little bit more and come prepared maybe to talk about it more articulately at the next meeting.
I think that's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just this was from before I was on the Conservation Commission. I did not feel that this corporation was very respectful of the Conservation Commission, and I think no matter what you're doing, you can always answer a letter or write an email.
That makes sense, Carol, but I think what we need to be careful of is we need to ensure that we address each issue as an issue on its own.
I get it.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Mhm.
So can I just really quickly before we adjourn, I'm very sorry. We
Please.
did get a request to modify the monitoring for 195 Montague Road. I'm completely fine with it under the parameters that the commission has already discussed. I just wanted to put it on the record that the request came in, and hopefully the commission's okay with the reduction in monitoring under the parameters we've already discussed.
Straw poll or motion?
I don't think we need it either, as long as we just have general consensus that folks are okay with the reduced monitoring during
If
the
anyone's
winter.
opposed, okay. If anyone's opposed, raise your hand. All right, no one's opposed.
Thanks. I'll say.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second,
Jason on the motion, Tina on the second. Tina.
aye.
Bruce, I don't want to miss you. Bruce.
Aye.
Jason, I don't want to miss you.
Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
Rachel.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Good night, everybody. Great job. Thanks for your collaboration and cooperation. Awesome.
Good night.
Thanks,
Good night.
Bye.
everybody. Night.